Have you ever hit a wall so completely hard that you had no idea how to pick yourself back up and continue moving? Because I have. A few years back, I found myself in both a personal and professional situation that left me feeling void of inspiration, of motivation, of self-worth, that I only had one option to keep moving. To pick myself right back up, to do a total 180 and try something entirely new and out of my comfort zone, which at the time meant leaving my former career behind and starting a new one, and hopping on a plane by myself to move to South America for 2 years. In light of the current global situation, I turned to you guys for some help, understanding that there's power in numbers and power in forming a dialogue. About a month ago, I asked you guys on my Instagram if anyone had shared a similar experience in having hit a wall in the past or currently hitting a wall today. And about 1,000 of you from all over the world responded with your own unique and powerful stories, all bonded under this a common struggle. There were 8 of your stories in particular that really resonated with me. So I reached out to these folks, had never met them before, and decided to start a conversation. This is that conversation.
So just kind of high level, and just to reiterate what I've already told you guys thus far, as somebody who's personally hit a wall in my career and personally have found myself in a situation feeling, unfulfilled, uninspired, and just quite honestly a bit depressed and just not being like me and my truthful self. My team and I had this idea a few weeks ago to reach out to you guys just to kind of start this dialogue with other people who have gone through something similar or are currently going through something similar. No worries. I just want you to know that all of us have different journeys and all of us are going through different things. Some of us are still hitting a wall, especially in light of what's going on currently. Some of us have already gone through it. So we all just have different experiences that I think really are a value add to the conversation. My hope is that each of you guys walk away feeling a little bit more empowered and just a little bit more comfortable knowing that you're not alone, and even hopefully feeling like a slight sense of community. So I wanted to start out with a quick round robin of intros, just kind of listing, your name, where you're from, what you used to do career-wise or education-wise or journey-wise, and what you're doing now.
Hi guys, I'm Carly. I'm 27 and I'm also from Chicago. But before all of this crazy virus stuff, I was in event planning and sales. But my whole entire company was furloughed.
Okay. Taylor, do you want to go?
So my name is Taylor. I grew up and I'm currently in Bluffton, Indiana, which is a small rural town. I currently reside in New York City. I have an apartment there before the world ended. I was on the first national tour of the Tony Award-winning musical Bandstand. I did my undergrad in education, so I'm certified to teach K through 12 instrumental and choral music. I did that for about 4 years outside of Chicago, and then throughout Chicago, I hit a wall.
And hopefully you and Ben at some point can connect on the teacher front as well, because I guess that's kind of a nice segue. Ben, do you want to share your story?
Yeah, sure. I'm Benjamin. I'm originally from a place called Shrewsbury in the United Kingdom, and I live in Doncaster. I also used to be a teacher, but here you focus more on sort of areas, and mine was primary education. So it was more the 7 to 11-year-old age range. That's where I focused on. And I found that the job became, I couldn't get up in the morning. It was horrendous. Currently, I'm actually working for my father-in-law in a car repair shop, which is slightly different to what I trained in.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the golden question, right? Like, what do I do now? Like, where does this? Yeah. So I guess with that, do we want to transition to Gulshan? Do you want to tell your story? Just kind of a little bit about you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Gulshan. I grew up in the outskirts of Chicago, and I relocated to NorCal about 4 years ago. When I moved, I had this vision that oh my gosh, I'm just gonna move to a new state. It's gonna be so great. I'm just gonna flourish. I did not flourish as much as I would have wanted to. It was really tough. By the end of it, I came out just feeling defeated.
Well, thank you for sharing. Utkarsh, do you want to go next?
So my name is Utkarsh and I am from Delhi, India. After I got out of high school, I started pursuing physics honors, bachelor's in physics. But for Indian parents, the only legit career options that they want their children to go into are either becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So I started pursuing physics, but halfway through it, I realized I couldn't take it anymore because I wasn't enjoying at all. I wasn't liking anything about it. Recently, I came out to my parents, and my mom is super supportive. So after that, it sort of gave me a green flag. Okay, I can make videos around, how living as a queer person is like in India and in Delhi.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from personal experience there. Like, it's tough to put yourself out there, and I think for me, for the longest time, I knew that I kind of wanted to give myself that voice and put myself online, but it's a scary thing when you kind of offer up, not just your image, but your personality to the world to judge. Jaquavius, do you want to share a little bit about you?
I started running, and then I ended up getting an injury, and I didn't know what it was, so I decided to keep running. I'm like, maybe I'm just sore. And come to find out, I destroyed my IT band in my left leg. And then a few weeks later, I realized I couldn't walk for some reason. I was in a wheelchair for a few months, and I was also on crutches. I eventually got cut from the team. My injury ended up being about 3 years long. I wasn't able to run. And so I hit this wall of like, crap, what the heck do I do?
Do you guys have any definitive moments, or really even deeper than that? Like any feelings that you guys were having?
For me, there definitely was just a moment. I came home from work, and it was just, I had a breakdown. Literally, everything was getting on top of me. Everything just did not feel right in any way, shape or form. It was terrifying, to be perfectly honest, because I was like, well, what? I've trained for this. This is what I was supposed to love. This is what I'm supposed to do.
I've been there before, where I'm so just like sad and lost, and I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to face like the world and face reality. Like this sucks, which is so counterproductive, right? I mean, that's like the opposite of what you should be doing, and then it just causes a cycle where then you're more tired, and then that in and of itself worsens the problem.
Like, my relationships with friends and family were taking a hit because I was just in this rut and this dark mind space, and like my physical and mental health took a hit huge. I stopped being active. I gained a ton of weight. I wouldn't say I hit rock bottom, but I think it was, hitting that low point that I just looked in the mirror one day and said, something has to change, because if I want to make it past, 25, 26 where I am right now, I have to make a switch, or else, 10 years from now, I don't know what it's going to be. And I can't imagine continuing where I was at that point.
What do you guys feel would have been helpful in that moment? Having some guidance, having some mentorship, having just like a friend be by your side, conversations like this. I mean, what do you think could have helped us in those moments?
One thing that really helped me was my relationship with Christ or the universe, however they perceive it, but also the 3 characteristics of patience, self-care, and the importance of vulnerability. You just take a time in the mirror or in the room or wherever your sanctuary is and say, you know what, like, things may not be working out, but a rejection can be my protection.
I believe having someone to talk to is one of the most important things, because I remember before coming out to my parents, I came out to my best friend from high school. Because she was super supportive in the first place, that gave me the boost and courage I needed to come out to my parents afterwards.
What are some pieces of advice that you guys would say, like, oh my gosh, if I find someone, from here on out in a pseudo similar situation, like, this is my advice to them? Or for that matter, like, what was a piece of advice that someone gave to you guys that kind of helped you?
I think I wish that I would have had a little bit of a backup plan. And not that I would want to ever make someone feel bad for not having that. I didn't have that. But I think that it's always smart to kind of think of like, what other avenues could I pursue if, my dreams don't work out, or, my career path right now doesn't work out.
Your experience has been so affected, as has most of ours, but by COVID.
So, I mean, my industry that I am currently was working in is shut down for the foreseeable future. The fact of the matter is, what we do for a living brings thousands of people together in a confined space for 3 hours at least. And like, that's the epitome of what's not safe right now. And so my lifelong dream of like working as a professional actor full time came true. And then 10 months later, it was taken away from me because of this global pandemic. And for me, this has just been an experience where I'm just like, no, I was exactly where I wanted to be, and I was exactly where I needed to be. And so I got to be patient, and I got to wait this out, and I got to put in work myself right now, so I'm ready when those doors open again.
But I'm such a Lady Gaga fan. And there's this really interesting quote that she says in an interview, basically like in her rise to fame, someone asked her once, okay, if you didn't quote unquote make it, what would you be doing? And she said something along the lines of, when everything is stripped away from you, when everything's cut down so raw, and if you still continue to pursue what you're doing, that's when you know. Like that's when you know that it was the right move. Like, do you guys have any thoughts around that?
The quarantine has made me realize how much I did love my job and what I was doing in that industry. And so I'm definitely hoping to go back to work in events. And I think that people are going to want to connect more than ever once we are, able to and safely able to do that.
This COVID-19 has caused a lot of crap for a lot of people, but I'm going to try to look at it as my friend. Because if it hadn't been for the coronavirus, I wouldn't have had all this self-meditation. I just would have been doing it. But now my passion has like improved for it.
I think that's a really great way to look at it. Like, you're just kind of reframing the situation and trying to view the silver linings in it, But all of us are pretty young. And I think that even if like you don't know like what your like path is, what your passion is, what your journey's gonna hold for you,
I think when you're in a rut, it's super hard to get out of it. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, well, I have to fix this, and this. Oh my God, where do I begin? And I would just like shut down even more because I was like, oh my gosh, I have way too much to do. Like, I'd rather sleep. So I think for me, I'm just trying to find something that keeps me happy, keeps me smiling, keeps me going and motivated. And I don't have to tackle everything at once.
For one, it's been really cool even hearing your guys' stories. Like, now I'm going to walk away and be like, okay, there are like thousands of other people, and we're just like a small sample size, right? I mean, there are millions of other people that are going through the same thing.
It doesn't have to be your job and your career that brings you happiness. Like, your own hobbies and passions, whatever you figure out that those might be, that can be your source of joy. And so like, you don't have to kill yourself over trying to find a career that is like, so fulfilling and that you can, feel like you have to go around bragging to people.
You remember that the career doesn't make you, you make the career. So whatever does happen, whether it works out or if you get another opportunity, you bring that light and you shine. Like, I'm working at a gas station right now, and most people probably look at me like, bro, but like, this is actually my favorite job I've ever had, because I've had like high-end jobs. But the thing that makes me happy is that all I gotta do is scan items and put a smile on people's face. Like, all I gotta do is like, hey, how y'all doing today? Like, oh my gosh, girl, I like your hair, blah, blah, blah.
My favorite job ever was my first job. I was 15 years old, and I was working at a local McDonald's as the cashier. I'm really, really happy that you guys like took the time to even come and to chat. Is there one thing that you guys, just kind of like rapid fire really quickly, is there one thing that each of you will take away from a conversation like this?
Don't rush this. I think that is the most important thing, is you are still young.
Do not compare, because A, you really don't know the true story. B, it's not worth it. I don't need to compare myself to others and their journeys. Good for them if they've made it. Honestly, like, I applaud you. I'm not there yet, and that's okay.
Once you start feeling comfortable, it's hard to welcome change, but change can bring so much joy and so much new into your life. And so that's something, hearing your stories and thinking about how it's affected me personally, that's something I'm going to take away and continue holding close to my heart and encouraging and promoting, just because I think it's huge.
I'm like super proud of all of you guys and your stories. It's like very admirable and inspiring to listen to. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and we'll stay connected. This conversation, you guys, left me feeling so incredibly moved and energized and comforted, and knowing that I am not alone in this ongoing journey. There's so many other people out there who are going through something similar. Did you guys have the same feelings when you were watching this conversation? Are you guys hitting a wall currently? Have you hit a wall in the past? Let me know down in the comment section below. And I think we would all like to know, myself included, how are you guys coping with it? How have you dealt with this stuff in the past? As always, subscribe to my channel to continue with this journey together. And I would love to hear your stories shared on my blog page on my website at samcushing.co, where you can share your journeys with, again, not just me, but with
with everybody. I read every single post, so I would love to hear them. You know, we may not always understand the why when we're living in the moment, but it's always there. Be kind today and be kind moving forwards, because you never know what's going on behind those closed doors. Ciao. Nos vemos.